Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Lorraine. Welcome. Oh, hey, Ellen. Thanks for joining me. No, we are just getting started. I was a few minutes late, as usual, but hey, we're here. Lorraine, again, I'm sorry your kit didn't make it. I mailed it Monday, and it said it would be there Saturday, but I'm sure you will get it Monday. Good thing, you know, this one's not too complicated. Do you know that? Alrighty, we've got a few people here today. All right, guys, I'm excited. Our first of our cactus garden make-alongs. So we are going to make this little guy today. And hopefully you had a chance to make some head pins ahead of time. This thing, you know, as far as wire goes, you really just need, what did I say, 17 head pins. If you think you want to turn this into an ornament or hang it to be a sun catcher, then your middle one, you're going to want to do, oh yeah, not Monday. You're going to want to do a wrapped loop on that particular one, but I'll show that when we get to it. And again, the rest of our garden kit, I know several of you bought all of these. Actually, I think all of you that are on bought all of these. We're still working to schedule these guys. So, all right, let's get started. I want to draw my cards for this week first, and then we will jump right into making our cactus. And, you know, if you haven't had a chance to make your head pins, get started while I'm drawing cards, okay? All right. So, first of all, it is week 35, and we are going to draw, see what I'm going to make this week. I will be making it on the road. So I only have a few cards left because we have 5 decks available, but we have drawn 35 cards already, right? So here's what we're going to make this week. We are going to make a friendship bracelet. All right. I can do that. And let's see what we're going to use in it. Again, we just recently flipped our used pile. For those of you that don't use the cards, the used cards are the ones we tell us what we're going to pull out of our bead stash to use in our project this week. I shuffled these pretty good last week, so I'm not going to be too concerned. You can draw anywhere from 1 to as many as you want cards. I draw 3 usually, so I'm supposed to use an undrilled stone or shell. I am supposed to use turquoise. Well, you know, everything's always better with turquoise, right? And we're supposed to use pastel colors. All right. Well, that's going to keep me busy later today figuring out what I'm going to use for my friendship bracelet. All right, now let's see what our challenge card is to go with that. For those of you that don't follow us regularly, challenge cards add like a theme or a design challenge to our design. You're making a wrap bracelet, all right. I have to make a design with at least 3 different components. Well, I think I can handle that. All right. So just a reminder, so normally I would be live on Thursday to make this design, but I'm actually going to be on vacation. So I will be posting something, but we'll see. Oh, you get to make a friendship bracelet too. All right. We'll see. We'll see what I make. All right. So let's dive in here. So those of you that bought the kit, you do get written instructions. So you'll get this tutorial. It lists what you need. And if you didn't buy the kit, but you, it's a fish tank. Oh, it's probably inspired by a fish tank. Okay. All right. So as far as this tutorial, it tells you the beads, it tells you, you know, how to make it. If you didn't want to buy the kit, that you want to buy the tutorial. I do sell the tutorials separately. This is a nice short one because, like I said, this design is fairly straightforward. And then if you open your kit, so I didn't attach this card since, you know, I'm doing it, and I'm going to move these directions out of the way for the moment so that you can see the beads. As always, my kits come with all the beads you need, but I do not supply the wire. Now, I do, to make the design like I made it, you would have to use 24 or maybe 26 gauge wire. 22 is going to be too thick. You'll have to adjust how you do it or adjust the numbers of flowers and beads. So there's multiple kinds of beads in here, and the most important one is your nice green cactus bead. So out of all the kits right now, this is the one I have a limited number of kits because my supplier for the green beads is out of them. But I do still have at least 20 kits available. All right. And so there's 3 different kinds of beads in here. And you can just divide them up. So these ones that match the cactus bead, those are going to be what I call your balance beads. So those are going to go on the bottom to make sure that it doesn't roll around. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Janelda. You know, I didn't check them. It looks perfectly good with 6. I hope that's not a problem for most people. Okay. So our second kind of crystal, small crystal we have here is some yellow ones, and those yellow ones are to represent the fruit that is produced after the blooming on the barrel cactus. And you'll see on these pictures, so like this one has all the fruit and just a couple of blooms. This one has the fruit and some yellowish blooms. Okay. And then this one, it doesn't have its fruit currently, but it's got some really pretty blooms. So I just wanted to show you some examples. And then the last thing you should have is flowers. There should be 7 flowers, and hopefully most of them have holes in them. I guess as I pack the next round of kits, I am going to have to make sure that I check the holes. Anyway, so you'll have those 4 kinds of beads. So for the moment, you can set your little balance beads aside because those are going to be the last thing you need. And like I said, I made this using, I made little knotted head pins. If you have some 3-inch head pins that are either the flat, although you don't want a huge flat bottom, or the balls on the bottom would look perfect. And I happen to use copper, but you know, I think you can use whatever color works for you. So I made some of my head pins ahead of time, but I decided I would make a few with you guys. I have one longer one here because I am going to make a wrap loop so that I could show you how this would be could be hung up. But we showed briefly how to make the head pins. The easiest way to make head pins, hopefully you have a pair of nylon jaw pliers, a pair of round nose pliers. Really the round nose pliers, all you need for making this project, okay? And if you don't want to do the wrapped head pins, I'm also going to pull out a pair of chain nose pliers, okay? So to make the basic knotted head pin, we're going to do that again. You want to just grab the end with the tip of your pliers because you want these to be small, okay? And then I am going to do 2 turns around my pliers, so I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes I use colored wire when I'm doing these so you guys can see it a little better, but so I have 2 turns. I guess you can see that. And now I want to bend this, the straight part of the wire, up so it goes over those 2 rounds. Now, if you want to just use those turns and making that loop and use those as the end of your head pins, that's fine. You don't have to make the little knots, but you can, you know, you can just use that in your beads, right? So you can just put that in. I would, you know, this one I have turned sideways now, but you know, I could have lifted it straight up and it would be fine. So if you don't want to try to make the knotted head pins, don't feel like you have to. But all right, so once I have that drawn up, I am going to push the end of the wire through, so you end up with this little kind of lasso design. Hey, Marionica. So yeah, these knotted head pins are kind of fun, and like I said, they look cute in here. So once you've pulled that through, you want to stick that wire between your nylon pliers, stick the nylon pliers up next to the loops, and then you're just going to pull this. Now, since we're using 24 gauge wire, you want to pull hard, but not so hard that you break it, because I managed to break one the other day, and I think it's because I was using some scraps of wire in it. I might actually have some 26 gauges in here, but you do end up with this little knot, okay? And it's kind of fun. And then usually my wire, because like I said, this is such thin wire, I do have to straighten these out. You're gonna want them fairly straight, okay? So there's one. I've got 1, 2. We're gonna make him 3 more, and then I'm gonna make a wrapped loop on that last one, okay? So again, we're gonna do 2 around. You broke your fur, yeah. Like I said, I pulled too hard on one the other day and it popped right off. All right. So like I said, you just kind of pull it until it tightens up a little bit. Oh, and then you break it like that. See, I pulled too hard because I was trying to make it look fancy. So now I'm gonna have to get another piece of wire from my, and that might have been another one of the, like I said, I think I ended up with some 26 gauge wire. And I did cut about just a little over, about 3 1/4 inches works about the right length for these. All right, so we're not going to pull that one this hard. So this wire does feel thicker, so I think, like I said, I have some 26 gauge scraps that I was using for some wire wrapping, and I thought maybe it was 24, but like I said, it'll be fine once we get these made. So, and I don't know if you had a chance to make any of your head pins ahead of time, or if you're just going to watch and do it later. I am not going to pull that one hard enough to break it this time, but we're stronger than we. Yeah, I think, like I said, some of these wires, like this wire definitely feels softer. So I'll bet this is another piece of 26 here, but you know what? It's gonna work. It'll work just fine. the I think the knotted head pins are easier to use with the lighter weight wires. It's just they don't, it's hard to get them to look like a knot if you're using 22 gauge, but it's not impossible. You made your head pins already. Good job, Lorraine. All right. And this will be our final one we're going to do the knot in. You could use, I think, I don't know what color you use, but like I said, gold certainly works, copper works. I think antique copper would be really authentic looking on this. All right, so on this last one here, I am going to make a wrapped loop because I want to be able to possibly hang my cactus, make it an ornament or something. So we're doing the 90-degree turn, and we're making our loop. And then I'm just going to grab the loop with my pliers, and I am going to use my hand to wrap. And you want to go at least twice around. It's really thin wire, so I'm going to take up a whole lot of room, but I don't know that I need too much. All right, so this one is going to be my center piece. So now I'm going to move my pliers out of the way. So now you can just, so your center one should be a yellow one, although it could be one of your flowers. You can kind of mix these up. So I show you a couple pictures in of real ones. So, you know, you can kind of mix them around. I'll show you guys my prototype, which I didn't think was horrible. But once I got the smoother one, I like it a lot better. But, you know, if you're using 22 gauge wire, if that's all you have, you can kind of put your flowers on top. But like I said, I don't like how I did that one. So anyways, so this is what we're going to do. So you, like I said, just go ahead and put one of your head pins through each of these beads and flowers. Yeah, I can feel that I definitely have two different sizes of wire here, but actually, you know, the thinner wire in some ways is going to make it parts of this easier, but only because, so if you use the 24 gauge, all of those ends are going to fit through the hole in your big bead. Okay. Yeah, some of my wire is definitely firmer than others. But like I said, that's okay. It's just we'll have to adjust it as we go. There aren't, you know, on this design, the nice thing is there's not like a structure that has to stand up, because everything on top just rests on top of the bead. And then the ones on the bottom, really just, like I said, you just have to kind of evenly space them so your beads don't roll around. So, and you could really do these as you go. I'm just doing them all at once, just because. All right. Okay. Well, like I said, Janelda, the 26 gauge would work too. All right, so what I like to do now is I'm going to take my bead and I am going to put all of these yellow guys on here, just loosely, because it has to, you know, it's like putting a bouquet, you know, in a vase. So I want a little space so these kind of, because they're not going to be all the way up next to it. So I'm bending them out a little, and it's okay because we'll be able to pull it through. But you just need to make a little space so that you can get your other beads through or your wires through the hole, because the beads aren't going through the hole, just the wires. All right. And like I said, I like to do like the yellow fruit first. I should make sure that the one that I have for my center bead I kind of set aside. Now, if you're using the 26 gauge, you be careful that your wires don't bend, right? Or that as you're trying to push them in there, because you need them to go through. So, all right, so when I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah. So I've got my 9 beads in there. I've kind of made myself a little kind of nest looking thing by bending them out a little bit. Now, at some point, you can start putting the flowers in, or you can put your center bead in and then work around it to put the flowers in. And you'll just have to see how it sits for you, because I think I've had to do it both ways. And you know, the nice thing is, if you need to adjust or you're having troubles getting in, you can just pull the whole thing up and slide your wire in. So like I said, I'm literally just putting these in, and see, you know, even if I wanted to stop there, I have, you know, a nice design. So it's really up to you how many, you know, how many flowers you want to put in there. Because like I said, it works perfectly well with, like if I stopped there, I could just do 4. Now, if I'm going to put this one in the middle, which I am, that's when it kind of looks like I need more beads or more flowers to go around it. So I'm going to pull these guys, you know, just up a little bit to make room. And like I said, you may have to pull these things out a little, but the good thing is we are going to just pull through and adjust them. So, you know, just kind of build your design around here. And then, like I said, you can just distribute your flowers. So see, Janelda, with 6, it actually works really well with 6. The 7th one I had to just kind of force it in there. So I think you should be okay. And I hope nobody else had any flowers that didn't have holes in them. But I'm going to go ahead and put this 7th one in here. And it's fairly easy. I'm having an easy time getting my wires in because, like I said, I think I ended up using 26 gauge for several of them. All right, so once you have all of those through that you want, then it's just a matter of kind of adjusting. So you want your yellow beads out far enough that you can kind of push the flowers down. And that's what I'm doing. I have to be careful because I do have a wrapped loop on that. And I'm just kind of pushing those flowers so that it makes a nice circle there. You're sure you got the only one? You know, I don't know about that. All right, so now what I am going to do, because I have it kind of where I want it, is I am literally going to turn it upside down, and I am going to tighten each of these. Although, all right, so obviously that one came in a little tighter. So I'm going to use my thumbs to kind of hold that, my thumb and my finger, and I'm holding the end here. And then, like I said, I'm just going to kind of pull these tighter. I kind of bend them off to the side a little bit so I know which ones I've already yanked on, because otherwise I'll have to spend, you know, more time yanking. And I can feel them in my hand that's holding these guys down. I can kind of feel them tightening up as I pull. And like I said, I just kind of bend it to get it out of the way. These are definitely shorter than I expected. And I would just kind of bend them all in different directions. All right, once you feel like you've yanked on them all, which I actually bent down my So yeah, I cut a couple of these a little on the short side, but it should still be fine. And like I said, you can just kind of shuffle these guys around until it looks like they're distributed. And see, I have my my little tiny closed or wrapped one there. So now that I have all these out here, what I want to do is take one of these wires, and it really doesn't matter which one as long as it's long enough. And I'm actually going to see if I'm going to take what appears to be my shortest wire here, and I'm going to pull it below all of these, and I am just going to wrap it around. Okay, now you don't have, if you have an even number of wires, you don't have to do that, but I had an odd number. So now I want to take groups of 2 and just spread them out. And each group of 2 is going to get one of my balance beads. So you have this with all your wires in pairs, okay? And now I'm just gonna grab a pair and I'm going to slide this bead on, which it should easily fit over both of those. Now, you really, other than the number of beads, I like to, what I do is I kind of put my thumb on here and then put this bead comes in to where it, you know, where it's resting against the big bead. And so it is sticking out a little. So then I am going to just trim this. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers. And I am just going to do one of those loops. And it really doesn't matter, you know, which direction. I just try to do those both together. You know, you can go sideways, you can go up and down. You just want to get them both turned, and then that bead tightened in up against that. And that's what you're going to do for the rest of these balance beads. Because again, you don't want your cactus rolling around. And these things do roll. You know, we had one die in our landscapers. They literally just kicked it like a ball. And then, you know, picked it up and took it away. It is a little harder to roll two pieces of wire at the same time, but so it can look a little sloppy. Hopefully you can make it look okay for you. So I'm cutting to about, you know, it's probably just under 1/2 inch, but as long as you have enough to loop it. And like I said, you do end up with some wire in here, but when it's standing up, it'll be okay. So I want you guys to, when you get a chance to finish your cactus, I'd love to see you post them in our Bead Stash Challengers group, which I apparently forgot to put the link up today. I'm sorry. I was thinking about doing the cactus. I wasn't thinking about. But I think you guys are all members of our Bead Stash Challengers group. So I would love to see you post them. All right, so we've got a couple more. Now, I have made these, I think, balanced with as few as 4 beads. I'm just using this many because that's how many wires I had coming underneath. And you know, you do need to somehow secure this end of the wire, you know, because the other end, you don't want your beads to come loose that are on top. So again, I'm just grabbing both of those and twisting. You can kind of squish them together, make them look better. So yeah, this particular design has lots of repetitive stuff in it, so that's why I didn't want to have to show you, you know, too many head pins, but you know, you do have to finish this bottom part. And I have to say I'm not doing a very neat job, but by my lengths of my wires were just all over the place for some reason. When I use these rolled loops to tighten things up, I usually try to make them all either go the same direction, but it's really up to you. Quite honestly, I don't think anybody's going to be seeing those. All right, one more. All right, and it's a little hard to grab both those, but we did. All right. All right. So we have our guy. For some reason, I keep knocking that over. Let me grab a hook real quick. So I can show you how it would look. These are fancy hooks, but there we go. We've got him. So I could hang it from a tree that way. I could hang it from, something in the window so that it's nice and sparkly by having that hook, or I can set it on the ground. Now, once you set it down, you can kind of see where you need to adjust some of these. Excuse me. Oh, thank you, Lorraine. Like I said, it was funny when I was making these, I knew I wanted to make a barrel cactus, and believe it or not, this one I think ended up being the simplest once I came up with the design, but I think it was the most challenging to come up with something that didn't require. Oh, yeah. It is a cactus. I got this Patricia Healy. She makes a lot of copper stuff, and she had these rings at the gem show earlier this year, so I had to get it. All right, well, anyways, there's my bottom beads are all tightened up. He stands up, or like I said, if you want to make an ornament out of him, just put a wrapped loop in your center bead, and it should be good. And he looks it looks really good. I was very happy with how the colors in the 3 kits, I think, coordinate very well, because this base is pretty much the same color as the cactus in here, and then our other beads have that purple and green, so we will be seeing that kit. And like I said, I think they go really well together. I do make I have made a couple of smaller ones of these, and I think I should have, you know, made it a twofer, so you could have a small one and a larger one, but I didn't play with the sizing right away. But if people are interested in a smaller one to go along, let me know, because I do have more of the smaller size beads, so it would be the size of this guy. So anyways, there's our cactus. We made our first of our 3 kits, so very excited about that, and I hope you guys like your cactus. And it's like I said, this particular one design is pretty straightforward. You can see now, you know, the biggest challenge is making sure you're using the right size wire, making sure all your beads have holes apparently, and and just making that work. So there you go, your barrel cactus, and he'll be eagerly waiting the other ones. So announcements wise, again, I am leaving on vacation on Tuesday, so I will not be doing a live on Thursday, but I will be making my friendship bracelet somewhere along the way, and I will post pictures. Probably won't post a video because I don't think I'll have the bandwidth. I am going on a cruise, so the bandwidth on ships is not great. And actually, this will be due before then, so we'll see. It may be late, just so you know. And so we will not have lives this Thursday, this coming Sunday, and the following Thursday. So weeks 35 and 36 will be posted separately. I'll try to like post up a link to one of our older videos in case you want to relive something. Hey Ellen, yeah, thanks for joining me. What is this? Oh, you're welcome. So, Janelda, your second prize, because you had 2 prizes in that package, is the baby version of this. So you could probably pull the flower out of there, although I didn't give you very many flowers. But anyways, there are extra flowers in your baby kit if you want it. So you probably haven't had a chance to look at that yet. All right. So I will hopefully be back live on the 14th, but I don't think I will be live on the 14th. I'll probably move it to the 15th, just because we get in really late Saturday night. So I'm thinking I'm not going to have my act together on Sunday for anything other than maybe drawing cards, okay? So hopefully we'll be able to do it on Monday. But I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks. I will miss you guys, and don't forget to continue posting. Today's the last day of the month, so you still have time to get your posts in for August's drawing, which we won't do obviously until I get back, okay? So anybody out there that hasn't posted your designs in our Bead Stash Challengers group, you can still get in for the August drawing. And like I said, we'll be back middle of the month. And so continue posting, working on your projects. I want to see them. I will have internet access, so I will be looking. And I will involve, I just won't have any live videos. So, all right. I hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your extra day off tomorrow. And well, for those of you that aren't retired like me, that have all the days off anyway. So anyways, all right, I will see you all, and hopefully we can get the our next make along scheduled one of them in September, and then at worst the earliest one will be October. So, but we are doing one of them with Kay over at Stars Beads, so I do have to work with her on a date. So, and if anybody feels like they're missing out on this, I do have kits. They're just not going to get mailed until the middle of September. This guy's only $10 for the kit. And again, if you buy all 3 kits, you get $5 off. If you buy any 2, you get $2 off. Just message me and I will put you down for kits and I will get them sent out to you. But again, they're not going to be sent out before the middle of September at this point. So, all right, thanks again. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Bye.